hands on the trigger, all eyes on the gun. They don't believe.
This is a representation of the external features of the heart. The main part of the heart consists of firm dark grey muscle called cardiac muscle. There are two main pumping chambers, the ventricles, and above the ventricles are two thin-walled chambers called the atria. These are much smaller than the ventricles and are easy to overlook. Lying over the surface of the heart are coronary arteries that supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscle itself. As the heart is a hard-working organ, these arteries are crucial. If they become constricted, it can have severe consequences for the health of the heart. Restricted blood flow to the heart muscle reduces the delivery of oxygen and nutrients, such as fatty acids and glucose. This may cause angina or even a myocardial infarction. This is an image of the internal features of the mammalian heart. The two upper chambers are atria. These receive blood from the major veins. The oxygenated blood from the body flows through the vena cava into the right atrium, and oxygenated blood from the lungs flows through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. From the atria, blood flows down through the atrioventricular valves into the ventricles. Attached to the valves are obvious tendinous cords which prevent the valves from turning inside out when the ventricle walls contract. A wall of muscle called the septum separates the ventricles from each other. This ensures that the deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood don't mix. Deoxygenated blood leaving the right ventricle flows into the pulmonary artery and leads to the lungs, where it is oxygenated. Oxygenated blood leaving the left ventricle flows into the aorta. This carries blood to a number of arteries that supply all parts of the body. At the base of the major arteries, where they exit the heart, are the semilunar valves. These prevent blood returning to the heart as the ventricles relax. The cardiac muscles in the wall of each chamber contracts to create pressure in the blood. The higher the pressure created, the further it will push the blood. The atria have thinner walls, and this is because the chambers do not need to create much pressure. Their function is to receive blood from the veins and push it into the ventricles. The right ventricle. The wall of the right ventricle are thicker than the walls of the atria. This enables the right ventricle to pump blood out of the heart. The right ventricle pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The lungs are in the chest cavity beside the heart, so that the blood does not need to travel very far. Also, the alveoli in the lungs are very delicate and could be damaged by very high blood pressure. The left ventricle. The walls of the left ventricle can be 2 or 3 times thicker than those of the right ventricle. The blood from the left ventricle is pumped through the aorta and needs sufficient pressure to overcome the resistance of the systematic circulation. Cardiac muscle is responsible for pumping the blood around your body. Cardiac muscle consists of fibers that branch, producing cross bridges. These help to spread the stimulus around the heart and also ensure that the muscle can produce a squeezing action rather than a simple reduction in length. There are numerous mitochondria between the muscle fibers or myofibers to supply energy for contraction. The muscle cells are separated by intercalated discs, which can be seen on the diagram. They facilitate synchronized contraction, and each cell has a nucleus and is divided into contractile units called sarcomeres.